Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? I hope this one doesn't get too squinty. It's very bright out right now. California skies, along with the rest of the long list of complaints I have about living in California. It's super bright here, and it sucks. Like, it is, I think it's because there's just so much stuff in the air that, like, the light hits it and just spreads it out more, and just, like, it's hard to see without sunglasses. And I could put sunglasses... Yeah, I could put sunglasses on, but then you would just be looking at sunglasses, man, and that doesn't seem like a whole lot of fun. So if I get all squinty, like, yes, and nines, they're all like this, and I'm sorry, unless you like the voice. Let me know in the comments if you like the voice. I can do entire videos as, like, weird old man. Anyway, we're at nines. This is it. This is the last one, which is super exciting to have them finished. And kind of a weird thing, I was counting up the videos I've made on this channel and Words from the Muck and a few that I've made for my kids. And I think this is like my 50th video, which is kind of cool. I won't spend a lot of time on that. That's not what it's about. But that feels pretty good. That's cool. So, yay! I can't dance, really. So, first, let me finish off a thing on eights. I said on eights that I didn't really research it enough, or didn't review enough, so I couldn't talk about their strengths, or where they are, not their strengths, but where they are in security versus stress. And so I want to touch on that briefly before we move on. Eights in stress become, like, really, really concerned with that sense of betrayal. So they can become withdrawn. They're even, like, less trusting than they would be otherwise. Versus, like, a healthy and a good spot eight who knows that their opinions don't have to be right all the time, that they can listen more freely with other people and not have to challenge so much. But I also wanted to take a second on eights because, you know, I finished on, like, I always end up talking eights about them in a negative way. But I was reviewing it again, and Cron and Stabile also theorized that, like, Martin Luther King Jr. probably an 8. So if you're an 8 out there, you're like, a lot of that sounded familiar, but I don't like the comparisons that you're throwing out there. Maybe Martin Luther King Jr. is a better comparison. Be like, oh, okay. Because sometimes that's the challenge with Enneagram stuff too. Like, you're looking for an example of something that can fit, and it's tricky because sometimes the examples are such strong personalities, or they're so out there, you're like, I don't really like that person, so I don't know if that's going to work. But there's always more people in that category than just, like, that one that we're talking about. So, you know, I thought about 6s again after I made the 6 video, and I'm like, you know who the perfect example of a 6 is? Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. Perfect 6. Worried about everything, super loyal, is gonna be there for his friends, but super anxious all the time. So, but if you're like Piglet, nobody wants to be like Piglet, like, even if he is, you know, kind of charming or whatever. But anyway, so there's just a couple of cleanup stuff. Let's talk about 9s. 9s. Here we go. 9s are interesting because they are considered peacekeepers. They're the ones who want to see everything from every angle, which we talked about a little bit with 5s, that they want to, like, check everything out. They can see two sides of everything. 9s do this as well, but the downside for 9s is that they don't want to deal with conflict, like, at all. They want to avoid it if possible. So, whereas an 8 is like, I'll challenge you on anything. A 9's like, can we not have any of the headbutting and the thing because it's very uncomfortable. And that's kind of how they go about life. They are conflict averse. They don't want to deal with it. They want to avoid it. So what they end up doing is they are wonderful listeners, and they are wonderful at understanding people's positions, because they will look at a bunch of different things and be like, yeah, well, kind of looks like everybody's right. Does that mean we don't have to fight? Please tell me that we don't have to fight, right? Everybody's right. That's what 9s can do. And it's a wonderful, marvelous thing, because whereas everyone's like, everything is black and white and it's us against them or whatever, 9s are the people who can be like, I think both of you have pretty good points, actually. Like, you're not so, like, you're both right, so maybe just dial it back a bit. And that's a really cool thing for 9s. Downside, they're so conflict averse that sometimes they do not put themselves forward at all to be considered. Like, what do you think, 9? 9s aren't going to tell you, probably. They either don't know or they don't want to say it because they do not want to become an inconvenience to you or to anybody else, because that might cause conflict. So, excuse me. So 9s, they don't take care of themselves too well. People ask them what they want, they'll ask them what they think. 9s won't always answer not correctly, they won't always answer honestly. So if they think it's going to cause waves, they'd rather just not mention it at all. So they can forget themselves pretty easily and then just not take care of themselves. Another thing that they can do, which is, hold on, gotta erase this semi. Another thing that 9s do, though, is it's not like they won't get mad, right? They're conflict averse, but 8s, 9s, and 1s are still considered part of the anger triad, the anger group. But 9s are super nice and they want to know what's going on and they want to understand everybody's point of view, but they still get mad. They just don't want to show it, because if they show it, they're afraid that there's going to be backlash and then it's more conflict and then they don't want to deal with it. Ugh. So what do? They become passive aggressive instead. 9s are more likely to have the weird stereotype thing. It's like, well, don't you know why I'm mad? You should already know why I'm mad. It's like, just tell me why you're mad. Oh, you should already know. That's more of a 9 type idea. They're not gonna be outright just like, here's my problem, rah, let's fight about it, let's get it out there. Instead, they just they'll slide little things out like, oh really? Well, that's interesting, because when I wanted to go do that thing, you said we couldn't. So that's fun, dealing with that. And one more thing that seems kind of negative, they're not always good at prioritizing things. Often 9s, especially if they're stressed out, will not always do the thing they need to do. They will do all of the other things that are not super important, almost like they're just biding their time, or I just lost the term. They'll just avoid it. They'll just waste time. They'll just waste it. It's like, hey, did you get that thing done? Oh, right, I was gonna do that. But then, I saw this butterfly, and I thought, wow, what a great butterfly. So I went out to chase it, and then it got away, and then, traffic cone in a weird spot. Woo! I shouldn't have been there. Then they start talking to people, and then they maybe go run errands they didn't need to run just because they don't want to actually do the thing they need to do. Those are things that 9s will often do. And those are important things for me to consider, because sometimes I wonder if I'm more of a 9 than a 4. Cronin Stabile would say that you are what you are. You can't be both. You're like, well, I'm some 9, I'm some 4. No, you're a 9 or you're a 4. But Cronin Stabile would also be quick to say, it takes a long time to know for sure. There are online tests you can take, and if you're like, I took the test and this is what I am. A lot of Enneagram people would be like, ugh, don't take a test. You gotta figure it out. So I'm pretty sure I'm a 4, but sometimes I read stuff like that on 9s. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can be passive aggressive. I try to avoid conflict, and sometimes there's things that I know I need to get done, and then I'll just do something completely different instead. Sometimes there are things that might need to be done, and sometimes they're just these weird whims. I used to love rearranging furniture, and I'd be like, I'm gonna rearrange this living room. Why? Don't know, just want to. And I would, probably trying to avoid something that was supposed to get done. So those are all kind of weird things. So for 9s, a big thing for 9s for them is finding ways to stay on task, trying to get to the point of being okay with making your ideas known, being out there and being like, well, this is what I think, and I think that it's valuable, and making sure you have that option and availability and confidence to be like, no, I matter, and not have to freak out too much if somebody disagrees with you. Nines can be really, really great. A lot of politicians, not every politician, but Cronus to be able to talk about how nines can make really, really great politicians, because they are people who have to see multiple sides to everything. They have to sit there and recognize that that thing has merit and that thing has merit, and that's a good point too. And we need to understand that everybody has a stake in it, and that everybody is like really, really invested in it. Versus somebody who might be an 8, who's like, they're wrong, I'm right. That's if King Kong were president. Kong 2020, I'm for it. So nines, that's a big deal. I mean, I could go into like this like tangent about like the need to understand other people's stories, which I think is really crucial and really important to like change the world and make the world not a terrible place. And I think nines have the ability to do that, so long as they are also willing to like speak up and say like, hey, I've noticed a thing. They all said those things. I think that they all have some merit, and I think we need to be paying more attention to it. And that's a really big deal. So one of my favorite podcasts is Ask Science Mike, and he's a guy who is a 9, and he basically fills in this gap in faith communities and science communities, and he's only able to do it because he totally understands and recognizes the fears and anxieties of religious people. And he also recognizes a lot of other very well thought out, researched, understood models that we base everything else on that we use to live. And it's in that space that he's become kind of this bridge between groups of people, and it's fascinating to me. And that's kind of the beauty of having those things. So as I close off here, like said in the previous video, if you want me to keep going on Enneagram stuff, let me know. Like, let me know questions. I'm certainly not the expert, but I've got a couple of books. I'll dig stuff up. I can give my opinions. And I'd like to throw those out there for you. Coming up, who knows? I'll probably have a state of the channel address coming up fairly soon, because as of next week, I will have spent 2 years making videos, like officially. So I'll probably talk a little bit about that coming up. So if that's interesting to you, follow along, look out for that. Otherwise, yeah, that's the Enneagram. It's really, really great and really fun to kind of see how people act and interact and how they treat each other, and maybe that's why 9s are the best way to finish, because 9s see that there's something good in everything. They see that there's, well, not that there's something good, they understand multiple sides of things, and that's really the best way to start dealing with people, if you haven't been already. Your ideas are your ideas, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We've been nurtured into it, we've been cultured into our ideas, we have all of our confirmation biases as well as everything else. Like, we think what we think for a reason, but so does everybody else. And so if there's any lesson I like learning from the idea of a 9, is everybody has a reason for everything. But you can only find that out if you're willing to engage with people not like you. So that's where I'm going to leave off. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for joining me on all of this fun, crazy, goofy stuff while I'm driving to and from work. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. See ya.